The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome everyone to episode 169 of the Daily Mother Swole. You get that panoramic on Periscope. I can just twist it like oh. I kind of like when I hold it. You guys get a little bit more action. It's a little bit more legit. So today, wanted to talk to everyone about lunges versus squats. It's episode 169 of the Daily Swole. Today, obviously, I'm in my car and I don't have 3 cell phone plans because that would be absolutely absurd. But I am normally triple live broadcast. But I told you, no matter what you do, no matter if you want to follow me on Facebook, no matter if you want to watch on Busker, you have to, I'm an angry guy. You have to follow me on Periscope because that is the guaranteed live broadcast. Absolutely guaranteed. I am cooking in the sun. If you are watching on YouTube, on Facebook, you can see like half my body is going to have a ridiculous tan. It is hot. It is hot. I don't have the air on super high blast because if the air is blowing too much, I have it on my feet, so my feet are nice and crispy, but I'm getting a little bit sweaty. You have a hive, like a beard, like a man beard, like testosterone growing out of my face? I sure do. That's right. And let me just, before I start, no man bun. Okay, well, yeah, that's a lot of testosterone. I have to ball it up because if it's all the way down, it's like a lightning bolt. It's going to start shocking people. Here's the thing. Before I start, let me just get this out of the way if you're new on Periscope. If you can't handle the manliness, just close out right now. Just close out because you're not going to like what comes after. There's going to be way too much testosterone in your face and your ears. Look, if you can't handle it, I don't mind. I don't take offense to it. Very feminine. Better watch your mouth, boy. I'm just kidding. No, seriously, I'd kill you in real life. That being said, don't rush me. How come whenever I go on the road, everyone just gets out of control? Everyone gets out of control. You know it's bad. It's bad, cinematography. It's bad show business if I tell you right off the bat. If this is going to be a 20-minute podcast, I'm going to tell you at 19:45, which is better. And then maybe I'll tell you tomorrow. You're driving a Geo Metro. No, I'm not. Why would I drive a Geo Metro? Doesn't it have like 3 gears or something? They stopped making those like 15 years ago. All right. So for the record, I usually don't block people, but I will if you're excessively stupid and you're interrupting the broadcast. So please be mindful of others that are actually here for the awesome information. Let's get into it. Lunges versus squats. Now, they're both the reason why I am a huge fan of both. No, that's all right. The reason why I'm a huge fan of both, first off, they're both very functional exercise. Lunges and squats are supremely functional. They both represent real world movements. Now, this means that you're not always going to be squatting 100 pounds, 150 pounds, 200 pounds, but you need to get off your ass, you need to get off your couch, and you need to be able to get off the ground. If you're an older person watching this podcast and you plan on having grandkids, or you want to have grandkids, or you're expecting a grandchild, if you're not going to play with your child and be able to get off the ground, that's going to be a huge fail for you. That's going to be a huge detriment to your lifestyle. And you're really going to be regretting that. And you're going to have a lot of issues in your real world experience, in your activities of daily life. This is not talking about getting a 6-pack or looking a certain way. This is talking about having interaction with your family. So this is going to be something that will affect you, right there in the core. A squat is a very basic movement. A lunge is also a very basic movement. Now, the thing with both of these is that they're designed for people without compensations. They're designed for people with mobile ankle joints, mobile hip joints, mobile thoracic spine. Most of you and most people that will ever watch this and most people in the world have limitations. Now, the reason why you have limitations is because you're sitting down at a desk, you're sitting down in the car, you're sitting down at home, you're sedentary most of the time, sitting down at a computer. This is locking up and this is tightening and immobilizing joints that are supposed to be mobile. As a result, it's solidifying and stabilizing and pretty much petrifying joints that are supposed to be mobile. And as a result, it's forcing the body to try to create movement in your stable joints. The problem is because your body is losing mobility where it should have mobility, it's looking for mobility elsewhere. So it's going to start looking for mobility in the lower back. It's going to start looking for mobility in the knees. And these are all areas where you don't want a lot of mobility. You don't want a ball and socket joint in your knees, and you don't want a lot of rotation in your lower back. That's why people get hurt. As a result, you get a lot of injuries during squats. You get a lot of injuries during lunges. Here's what I recommend for you. In addition to yoga, in addition to those exercise videos on my YouTube channel, you can click it. If you're on Periscope, you can click my YouTube channel link in my profile, youtube.com/Swolenormous. youtube.com/Swolenormous. So Swolenormous on YouTube. On my exercise video list, and I just posted the 90-degree tricep press. So the 90-degree tricep press is a great exercise, but the one that I posted, the hip bridge, the single leg squat, and the total body workout videos where I went over the lateral tube walking. Those exercises activate the glutes. If you are sedentary a lot and you have a lot of immobility in your daily life, you're going to need to activate the glutes. The reason for this is you need to make sure that those are the primary muscles moving. If you have limited ankle range, limited range of motion with your ankle, if you had a sprained ankle, if you broke your ankle, if you're sedentary a lot, if you have very, very tight calves, you need to do one of two things. If you're going to perform a squat, first off, I would not recommend any kind of jumping squats. I would not recommend any kind of jumping or plyometrics if you have compensations, because then you're adding gravitational force and exponential force and the acceleration of gravity into the actual movement in addition to your body weight. And that's why a lot of people, when they're jumping up and down, knees buckle hardcore. You're getting a lot of shear stress, a lot of valgus in your knees. That's putting a lot of pressure on your ACL, which is very, very dangerous. Limit the range of motion. Don't squat down all the way. Now, it's healthy and it's good to squat down ass to grass, but only with good form. I think that's where people get a little bit twisted with the squat. Squat's a great exercise, and in reality, squats and lunges are both great for their own purposes. Squats are safer. And if you're getting up from the ground, lunges are more functional, but squats are safer for someone just getting back into it because it's not isolating a single hip joint, as the lunge will. So for the squat, if you have limitations, my recommendation is to limit the range of motion, not to squat down all the way. And you could also elevate the heels a little bit. Put a plate or put a little 2x4 under the heels to allow for a greater range of motion and take out the ankles in terms of limitation. If your ankles are very tight, you're gonna be leaning forward a lot, putting pressure on the lower back. And I'm gonna do another squat tutorial. I'm gonna do another squat little video with a voiceover very soon coming up. So that's gonna be, it's going to be a huge video. So if you like the voiceover videos, make sure you like it on YouTube. Make sure you leave a comment telling me how much you like the videos. If you like the voiceover workout videos, if you're on my premium group, also make sure you go to my main YouTube channel and give a little support there because I post it on both. So the actual, the voiceover videos will be breaking down more individual exercises for everyone's benefit. And the squat's going to be a very important one because if you have limitations, you could still do a squat, but you have to modify it. You have to modify the squat. Because if you don't modify the squat, if you're trying to do a full-blown squat, but you have imperfections, then you're doing an imperfect squat. And you're forcing your body through different varying levels of tension and stress, and you're just putting yourself at risk for injury, so it's not worth it. When you do a squat, one of the best exercises, pushing your knees out to the side, keeping your knees directly over the toes, very important. Making sure the back is flat and not rounding and not getting that butt wink at the bottom. And again, the video that I'm going to show is going to complement this. Doing a proper squat all the way down with good form as far as you can is really the best way to go. Once the form breaks, the exercise and the form stops. Once your butt starts tucking, your back stops flattening. If your knees start buckling in, if your feet start flattening and like turning inwards and supinating, pronating, and if your heels start coming up, that's when the squat stops. There's certain ways to modify it so you can do a limited range of motion squat while you're doing your rehabilitation work. So if you're doing your stretching, your foam rolling, if you're doing your glute activation, your calf stretching, if you're activating all the muscles that you should be, your lateral two band walking, you're doing your hip bridges, you're doing single leg squat, you're doing all those activation and those restorative exercises, you could do a modified version of the squat until those muscles and those joints activate and loosen up, and then you can start doing more and more of a full-blown squat. Squat, super important, great for the butt. The glutes are the king of the jungle, and that's going to be the easiest entryway to doing a leg workout if you're just getting back into it. So squats, number one, and also modified is number two. So you want to do a squat, but you also want to modify it based on your capacity. But don't just modify a squat and then go through life thinking, hey, I modified the squat, I'm all good, I'm done with my work now. No. If you modify the squat, you still got to be working to correct your form. Work to correct your compensations and modify the squat. In the meantime, getting better and tweaking things as you get more flexible, and then moving the box or moving like the 2x4, making it thinner, allowing your heels to come more to the ground and so forth. Again, I will do more of a breaking down squat video in the future with a voiceover, which is going to be super important and definitely something to keep an eye out for. So if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe, YouTube, Swolenormous. The link is in my Periscope profile. Please, if you watch the Daily Swole, don't fuck around and, okay, I'll watch it. No, go there, subscribe, and you'll get notified of every video that I post. I just posted 168 from yesterday. I got another vlog coming today online. Got another spotlight this week. There's a lot of stuff coming up. Just make sure you subscribe, that way you're notified when the video drops, because that's going to be a huge one that's going to complement this Daily Swole. Now for lunges, because the lunge isolates a hip. When you do a lunge, you're stepping forward, stepping back, whatever you choose to do, however you choose to do your lunge. I always recommend either walking forward and continuously moving forward, bringing your feet together between every rep, or stepping back. I do not like stepping forward and then pushing back to a two-leg standing position. That's a really terrible way to do a lunge. Puts a lot of pressure on the knee, on the patellar tendon. When you do a lunge, you're putting one hip into flexion and one into extension. And the hips do move a little bit independently, but when you move one hip in that kind of range of motion, let's say flexion or extension, you put tension on the opposite hip. If you're tight, because you're sedentary, because you're sitting down, because you're not moving to your normal capacity in terms of like full functional body movement, you're sitting down in a chair, you're sitting down in a car, sitting down at a desk, you're standing all day at work, your hips get very tight. If your hips are very tight, doing a lunge is going to be very, very stressful for the body. You have to be very careful doing a lunge. Another problem is because if you have stiff hips and you have limited hip activation with the muscle, with the gluteus medius and the maximus, you're going to have a lot of play. When you step out, your knee is exposed, so to speak. You have tension around the hip, you're going to have tension around that kneecap already, and that lateral movement, that lateral stability of the knee is going to be at risk. So a lunge can be a very dangerous exercise because there's more tension, because there's more, I would say, antithetical support. I don't even know if that's a word, but it sounds badass. It's like there's more opposing forces during a lunge. You're stepping forward, you're flexing, let's say you're stepping forward with your left foot. You're flexing that left hip, but that right hip is extending, making that flexion on the left hip more stressful. The muscles that are crossing the hip joint are putting more pressure on the knee. And you also have weaker glutes, so your hamstrings are firing too much, putting pressure on the back of the knee, and you have less stability laterally for that left knee. So unless you're doing a lot of glute activation, I'll be very careful with the lunge starting out, because chances are you're not hitting your glutes properly. If you do lunges, and this is for everyone that already does lunges that might not feel like they have any problems, if you do lunges and you are getting sore under your butt, you're getting sore on your hamstring, you're getting sore under your glute, like under that meat, you're not doing your lunges properly. You should not be getting sore in your hamstrings from lunges. You should not be getting sore in your hamstrings. You should be getting crushed in your glutes and, if anything else, your quads. You have to be very careful if you're getting really, really hit. Like, let's say the muscle or the area of the muscle that touches the toilet when you sit on the toilet, right under the butt at the top of the hamstring. You should not be getting sore there. If you're getting sore there, you're getting sore in your hamstrings because you're getting more action on the hamstrings because the glutes are not firing properly. It doesn't mean that you're never going to get sore in your hamstrings from lunges. What it means is there's a very high chance that you're not activating the glutes properly when you do a lunge. I have a great YouTube video on the lunge. If I'm not mistaken, there's a great video of me demonstrating the lunge. Exercise videos. My exercise playlist is starting to come a lot more into play now, isn't it? Go on my YouTube channel, my exercise videos, watch my lunge video. It talks about activating the glutes, how to tuck the pelvis, how to focus on hitting the glute muscle. If you're getting sore under the glute, at the hamstring tie-in on the pelvis, on the back of the leg, you're not doing your lunges properly, and or your glutes are not firing. So those things like the single leg squat, the lateral tube walking, the supine hip bridge, those are exercises that you should be doing before you do your strength training. Do those as part of your warm-up to fire the muscle, to get the glute working, and then you can start moving into your lunges. So first off, my recommendation is, if you're new to exercise, start by doing squats. Not only are they super functional, they're also safer, and you can modify them a lot easier than lunges. And then the more advanced exercise is the lunge. Again, very functional, going from a kneeling position off the ground, super, super functional, super effective. But in all honesty, if you can really practice your squat, if you get stuck on the ground, chances are you'll have the leg strength to get up off the ground, even if you don't practice lunges directly. If you're in that situation where you have to get up off the ground, if you practice squats, you'll have the leg strength to get up off the ground in a lunge position if you need to in an emergency. I would recommend doing squats, modifying them when you need to with either a plate or a piece of wood under the heels to avoid any knees buckling in, feet flattening, heels coming up, allow your back to come up more upright so you're not leaning forward too far. Or also you could limit how far you squat down. Limit how far you squat down. If you're squatting down too far and you have tightness in the hips or the ankles, you're going to have all sorts of improper movement. I did an episode on the squat on Daily Swole. It might have been in the 40s or 50s, in that number range on the Daily Swole. So you can look back at my playlist. But I've done something on the squats where I talk about all this already in the squats, but I will do another exercise video specifically. But look back at my Daily Swoles. It talks about how to squat. I did it in a group fitness studio back, I think it might have been in the number 40 to 50 range. So I would go back and I would check that out. That being said, thank you for joining me for episode 169. Which is better? It depends on your level of movement capacity. It depends on your goal and your experience. But if you have to start with one, start with squats and or modified squats, and always be working on your corrective exercises. Watch my YouTube channel, go on those exercise videos playlist and look at those exercises: plank, supine hip bridge, the lateral tube walking, my total body workout, single leg squat. Those are there for a reason, because they are some of the best activation exercise you could do. Don't get injured and don't get sucked into doing therapy once you're already hurt. You got to do these restorative corrective exercises before you get injured. That way you avoid those injuries to begin with. Don't be a fool. Stay in school. Keep watching the Daily Swole and keep getting absolutely fucking yoked. Oh, 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 oh. Thank you for joining me for episode 169. Peace out. I'll catch you on the flip side. Remember, you can catch me every day at 12 noon Eastern time, at minimum on Periscope. And if you're lucky, you can also catch me on Facebook Live and or Busker. 169, yo. Yeah, that's right. Getting up in those numbers. I'm getting old. Getting up in years. In a month, it's going to be 200. Holy crap. Oh, and remember, if you're new to the Daily Swole, this is also a podcast. So I will rip the audio from this video. Usually I have the microphone, in front of me. So it's going to sound a little bit different because I am on the road, but that's the beauty of the Daily Swole. It happens no matter what has to happen in my life. You still get your gains on. So you can catch it on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher. Every single fucking episode of the Daily Swole is there. And I will catch you all tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern time. Thanks for joining. Do your squats, do your lunges. Make sure to modify and adjust when necessary. And don't forget to do your yoga and your corrective exercises. Don't be a fool. If you watch my stuff, you know how important it is. And if you've tried it, you're probably sold on it. Trust me. Trust me. It'll keep you working out longer and more effectively without injury. I absolutely guarantee it. Peace out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.